I was watching all these faces appear, and it's lovely. And feel my heart swells each face that comes. So this evening, this talk is well, I was thinking, is it a hybrid? Is it a chimera? All of those names, and then I thought, well, actually, no, Lynne. What it is a patchwork, which feels very appropriate. So I just want to talk a little bit about, as a sort of introduction to it. On a morning, I usually go and sit with nothing special. And over the last month and a bit, I think, we've been sitting with particular questions that are ones that are really helpful, I think, and make us curious. And then I wonder if there really are questions at all. So the questions are, why do we practice? What are we practicing? And how do we practice? And we've had a series of talks. I think we began with a Kun Franz talk, who basically said, we don't know. It's a great place to start. Don't know why we practice. And then Trudy came and offered a talk. It was about practice of sewing a racket. Just one thread at a time, one stitch at a time. Which always, like all of these things in Zen, sounds incredibly simple. And I know some of you are already exploring and that practice. With all of these, we discover it isn't incredibly simple at all. And it brings up all of those conditionings about ourselves and how the others in the world, as well as our stitching. And then we had a talk from John, and John offered us a talk which was called Strong Back and Soft Front, taken from the Joan Halifax practice and way of talking about it, that we need to have a strong back and we need to sit up straight in our life and be upright so that we can allow our front to be soft, because that's where our compassion is. And we all know that this is often the place where we might guard ourselves. So we need to practice having a strong back, and that's where we can offer our compassion, our soft front. So talked about how it had influenced his own practice. And then I had Catherine in a talk, which was called Eat the Toast, which I loved. And basically about, this is it, this is our life. And why would we want to think about the mystery of toast? Why don't we just eat it? So why don't we just get on with our lives? And she talked about for her, it's been a self-improvement process that has been part of her way of seeing things, and how she's with that, really met that. And also the idea of us having a fantasy twin. And that might come into my talk a bit later on. The other me, the one that's always better, that does everything right. And Judy gave a talk. I'm just like, because the names of the talks always make me giggle. Judy's was called Pick Up the Poo. And pick up the poo, yes. And she she was talking about the everydayness of this practice. And she took us for a walk with her dogs. And there was quite a lot of picking up poo in the process of it. She was exploring in what is how that is influenced the world, that she's the world. And we had a talk with Lynne, the one of making the unwanted wanted, which some of you may have already heard. And then we already had a talk, Josh's talk that was at the last retreat, or one of them, the most important thing. So we've had a real series of these talks about practice. And I think talk is actually answering the questions, why do we practice? What are we practicing? How do we do it? And is it an it? That's my question. I don't think it is really. So now it's kind of my turn, and I was thinking, well, what can I offer? Because I think this is a sort of offering. And I read words of Allah, and he says, what we offer is our ability, alive being, entering the mystery of endless life unfolding. That's it. What we can offer is our vulnerability as a live being, entering the mystery of endless life unfolding. So I don't have to know lots of teachings. I don't have to have read lots of books. I've really just got to be me, offering whatever flows through me of this Dharma, this practice. And when I first started to think about this talk, I thought it was going to be about breathing. I've been talking about, I'm breathing a lot. I'm talking about breathing. And when we were sitting in the Story Gardens on retreat with, we had a little nothing special emergency meeting to have a think about what we were doing. And I was asked what the title of my talk might be. And from nowhere came Why Bother to Breathe? And then I thought, well, I quite like the idea of why bother. Why bother with any? Why bother to breathe? Why bother to live? Why bother to meet your life? Why bother to be your life? Why bother? What's the point? And then I was thinking, well, when we sit with each other, I think that's an offering. I think we're offering to each other, we're offering to ourselves, we're sitting with our friends, we're sitting with everyone with that profound intention for it to be the benefit of all beings. And we're offering this body, the stillness. We're not waiting for anything, waiting for the bell to sound, although sometimes our thoughts maybe. We're not waiting for the next thing to happen. In a way, it's an expression of love, I think. A deep appreciation for this, just this being alive right now. And if we can, sit as much as we can, strong back. I'm kind of doing it as I'm lifting my rib cage. And a soft front, one breath just follows another. And the thoughts come, they go. And I often think of them like flocks of birds, they drift across the sky. And then I think, oh no, it's a great big sky and it holds the birds as they just move along. And then we recite together, don't we? We've just recited the 4 practice principles. And that feels like a flow too, just a flow of sound really. a flow that comes through us. And I love the fact that there are many voices. Although I can't hear you, there's only the person who's speaking the words, but we know there are many voices. And it feels like our Sangha has many voices and is increasingly letting us know about those many voices, like a choir rather than a voice. And I think of the words they flow through me, cause, self-centered dream, only suffering. That feels like the birds get tangled up in the net there. And they don't know what to do and they try and struggle to get out. Holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Curious about the difference between those two. Between the court, the idea of court feels like we don't have a choice, it just happens. But home feels like a choice. And when I immediately want to come to my body when I think of that. And I notice what happens as soon as I hold, if I grip something and grasp something, and I can feel it goes all the way through my body. The tension comes all the way through my arm, into my shoulder. I feel that my face begins to also do something with it as well. And my focus is here. I'm holding on to this. And everything else has just gone. And if I open, that changes everything. Everything. And sometimes I can't open it on my own. Sometimes I need help. Sometimes I need another hand just to open that with me. So I can open to this life, to this body, to this breath, to this air, to this me that's just sitting here right now with you. Tell you a little bit of a story. Well, several weekends ago, 2, 3 maybe, I went to look after my little granddaughter. She's called Sky, and we call it Sky Watch, Peter and I, if any of you remember. It's a little star, but she's oh boy, she's full of energy. And while I was there, the boy was the fantasy twin there, or the other me, if you like. Super grand, the one who's magnanimous, loving, the one who can cope with everything, keep up the pace, giving, and crying. She can kneel, she can get up, she can lift. Oh, goodness me. Really? Really? Oh boy. Talk about holding on to a self-centered dream and an image. In reality, and this is the bit that I've just read to you, it was a weekend filled more with Judy's poo than anything else, really. More human than Cana. A small 3-year-old whose toy habits are rather unpredictable. Spare leggings, poo bags went everywhere. I never knew that you had poo bags for children as well. A 3-year-old child who dances whenever there's music, who experiments with the taste of bird poo, and giggles with delight when she squirts water in your face. Needs that don't really bend very easily. By day, my head was completely scrambled. This aging body was getting extremely irritable. I was tired. I didn't want the 5-year-old from next door to come and play. In fact, I didn't want anybody else to come into it. And I wanted it all to stop, really. And I was making judgments about everything. You know, and I'm really good at breathing in and breathing out and letting go of that. I've had a lot of practice over the years with that. learned how to relax my body, relax my nerves. I can do that, I can kind of, but actually it's not this practice, is it? Breathing it away is practice. So, in the car on the way home, where I was passenger, I had time to sit with it. That irritability. I was so irritated by the whole thing. I can tell you where it lives. It lives just in the lower part of my abdomen. It's a bit like a rumbling tummy. It's very disappointed. And I watched it for a while. And it rumbled about. And then I noticed there was disappointment. I was disappointed with me. That didn't quite live there. That lived more in my tummy, in the center bit here, in the midriff. That disappointment. Felt a bit heavier, a bit more sticky. And then under that, there was fear. And that was right in the chest. The fear. Fear of losing my capacity to do things. Fear of aging. Fear of losing abilities that might distance me from those that I love, might distance me from life. Ideas, I know, but fear was there. And of course, fear of that journey towards dying and the unknown. Yoko Beck says, if I can find the quote, she's talking about the practice of walking the razor's edge. And she says, step number 1 is to be aware that upset is taking place. When we do Zazen and begin to know our mind, our reactions, we begin to be aware that yes, you're upset. That's the first step, but it's not the razor's edge. We're still separate, but now we know it. How do we bring our separated life together? To walk the razor's edge is to do that. We have one end to be what we basically are, which is seeing, touching, hearing, smelling. We have to experience being upset. If we're frightened, we have to experience being frightened. And I was frightened. If we're jealous, we have to experience being jealous. And such experiencing is physical. It has nothing to do with thoughts going on about being upset. When we are experiencing non-verbally, we are walking the razor's edge. We are the present moment. We are the present moment. And I can feel just now my heart down from beating a little bit faster as I was talking. I can feel my breath coming into my body. Just here. Person's doing. I don't have to be anything special. I just have to be whatever I can muster, whatever is with the whole of this heart, this body, this mind, this breath. Just keep breathing. When I started to think about talk, you know, I thought I had to really do something, make something, create something. But it's not about any of that. It's about being with whatever flows through. There's a little poem that came into my email yesterday, digest the way the world offers constant basis. Here it is. It's by Julie Fehrenbacher, if I can say her name right. This morning, as my eyes blink open, it occurs to me, as if for the first time, what you, miracle body, are up to. All night long, when I let go, you pumped blood veins to fingertips and toes, grew cells and arteries and nails, inhaled and exhaled countless times. All this while the sun tirelessly birthed new life. All this without a thought or a word or a worry, without a drop of help from me. I laugh when I remember that just yesterday, in a torrent of heart-numbing stories, I seriously thought to do. Seriously thought I needed to do something. Well, actually, the world goes just on its own, doesn't it? It doesn't need us to do anything. We're just part of it all. Being this moment, compassion is back. There we are, back for practice, life as it is, the teacher. Being just this moment, compassion is right. Holding on and letting go. And letting go. And holding on. So why bother? Why bother to sit? Why bother being just this moment? And then, do I think I can be anything else? What else could I be if I wasn't here right now? And I'm really not much good at letting go. Much of life. Well, that I don't want to let go of. And there may be things that I do. So why bother? So we sit. We create a space. We become intimate with this breath, with the ache of your back, in my case, my knees, the twitch of the eyebrow, the comings and goings of everything. The awareness of this body sits, the chair, the floor, the earth, air, the elements, the universe. Everything. John O'Donoghue says, the earth is the most ancient mother. She is the endless source and the inescapable destiny. Everything issues from her, ferries its life upon her for a while, and finally sinks back into her. All life forms, and especially human beings, are expressions of the earth. Human life is an act of the earth. When am I running around in my life with my fantasy twin, doing the things that I think I have to do? It's easy to forget. Really sensitive. An expression of the earth. The times when I feel that the most, I think, when I see the wide open spaces of the world, and I feel the trees and the earth. I don't know how it is for you, but it's always here. It's always here in this body, these feet on the ground. These eyes looking at just little bit of jelly there, but they could do. Aren't they amazing? So I wanted to show you just one last little bit. And this was something that I shared at inquiry when I was thinking about this practice, this idea, it was a path. So here we go. This is something that I wrote, or as Ernie Wise would put it, a few words what I wrote. The path is not visible. Each time it has to be discovered, divined, with this body, these hands, these eyes, these feet. It only exists in the walking of it. We are the living form, it's now. Although it's been trodden for centuries, we are its embodiment wherever we are. Here, its current expression is the place. Here the way unfolds. There is no other. If there is no walking, there's no path. It takes courage to meet this suffering, this life raw, unadorned. So what shall we do? What shall we do? Shall we turn away? Shall we say, no, 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 not this, I don't want that, not now? Or shall we meet it all with the whole of this? These open hands, this heart. And shall we gaze into its naked face together with deep respect for what we have? Strong back, soft front, breath on breath. Let's eat the toast. Let's pick up the poo. Let's place our with care and zendo in the world, in our lives, with each other. Together we walk, creating and turning again and again to this being here right now. Not one, not two. Karen Mason Miller reminds us, Buddha is still refining the practice. It also reminds us to have faith in yourself as the way. Thank you very much.